Hey, what's happening? What's popping, everybody? Today we got our week 2 game versus Razor in the NPL, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. I just had a pretty big ass meal, and I'm gonna go for a bike ride here pretty soon. So yeah, all is good in the world. But besides that, let's go back to the game of Pokemon because who cares about real life stuff? Um, yeah, basically, if you look at my opponent's team, um, hazards are not going to be as big of a deal because his whole right side of the field is not affected by hazards, as in spikes and T-spikes from my Greninja. If you don't know what my team is, my team builder video is in my stock of videos, so just go check that out. Week 2 NPL. And so back to kind of the game plan here. The whole right side of his team is not affected by spikes or T-spikes, and the only thing that really gets affected by spikes are the left side of the field, and they're pretty offensive mons. Potentially, they might be defensive, so spikes and T-spikes are not going to be as big of a priority um, as they need to be. And from a lead perspective, what I want to do is just lead off with my Stunfisk here, just because I felt like a very good lead for him would be potentially a U-turning electric Tapu dude, and even a U-turning Crobat. I mean, even U-turn Mega Scizor, but Razor in his history, I did a little bit of scouting on Razor. I wasn't as familiar with his playstyle, so I noticed that he likes leading off with his fast mons that like to U-turn. So I'm going to lead off with Fisk here. Talking a little bit more about the game plan, his team doesn't have the best forms of recovery for the most part, so if I can just defensively wear down his team a little bit, I think I could win the game with either my late game Greninja or my Scarf Thunders here. So let's go into the game. So we do lead off with the Stunfisk, and we do get the lead right. And this is really good for me. Now the only thing that really pressured the Stunfisk as well is the Garchomp, because I can get a Toxic off on the Cresselia. I can take 2 Psychics from Alakazam, and obviously I can deal with pretty much everything on this team except for the Garchomp. So now I'm just going to get up his rocks as he goes um, right out into the Garchomp. That potentially tells me that he is not U-turn because he didn't U-turn on my Stunfisk, but he also could be U-turn, and he just didn't want to get staticked, and U-turn won't do a whole lot of damage to my Stunfisk, but I do got to keep that in mind that he potentially does not have U-turn on Crobat. So here I'm going to go out into my Buzzwole because I want to find out right now, is he a Fire Blasting Garchomp or not? So I'm going to go hard Buzzwole. Buzzwole's not doing a, well, it potentially is not doing a whole lot because it does very well versus physical type attackers, and his only real physical attackers on his squad are Crobat, that obviously beats the Buzzwole. The Scizor, which it's kind of tricky between Buzzwole and Scizor, especially if he does have the Aerial Ace, and the Garchomp. So right now I'm just going to scout if he does have a Fire Blast here, and I also am able to potentially, get the switch into either Scizor or Crobat that otherwise can potentially deal with my Buzzwole. So now I have no reason to not fire off the Scald as he decides to stay in. Maybe he was thinking he was faster than me, but no, I'm a very fast Blastoise, and he gets off a U-turn. So that's great. I'm able to burn the Scizor, weaken it heavily, and get that pain out of the way. So now he goes out into his Tapu Koko, and I'm just going to go right out into Stunfisk because he reveals Calm Mind. Obviously, that's pretty scary. A couple of things to also keep in mind. I don't have a Dazzling Gleam switch in, or a Fairy Resist on this squad, and this is my Electric Immunity. So I'm going to decide to fire off a Toxic first, just because if he is Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, Roost, he can potentially set up to +6, and like Sunfisk might not be able to touch him. So And he also could be Shucka, etc., etc. So I want to just get off a Toxic onto this thing and wear it down from there. So I do manage to hit my Toxic, as he is going to hit Stunfisk very hard with the Dazzling Gleam. And right here, I really do want to preserve my Stunfisk. I don't have means of otherwising statusing the Cresselia, and if I can keep my Stunfisk alive, it can help me versus his Crobat still with keeping up rocks, which are going to be important just for chipping away at his team. And it could pretty much, Stunfisk still has a lot of utility with Alakazam, Crobat, and keeping up rocks in general. So I'm going to decide I'm going to go out into my Mew because I know I can live a Dazzling Gleam. I know that I could also recover versus things like Crobat, even the Scizors, potentially Garchomp, and I can also mainly recover on to the Cresselia. And I still want to keep around my Mew for the means of Alakazam. So I'm sitting here relatively healthy still as he goes out into his Crobat. I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't know if he was a taunting Crobat or a poison Crobat or exactly what this is. And unless he is choice banded, he actually cannot knock me out. As here he goes for the Brave Bird, and he does reveal that he is choice banded. So that's really good information to know. Knowing that he's not going to stay in on the Stunfisk, I'm gonna pull out switch into my Blastoise, and even if he did go for another Crobat, another Brave Bird with Crobat, I can still take the switch in, take the Brave Bird, and kind of go from there. So now I'm just gonna fire off a Dark Pulse here because he doesn't have Dark Resist. So now he's going to go out into his Alakazam, and I know that I can live a Psychic. I could actually live in a Life Orb Energy Ball at the range of health that I'm at. And I'm just going to fire off a Dark Pulse here because if I can break this thing's Sash, now Greninja can revenge it. Now Scarf Thundurus can revenge it, etc., etc. So breaking this thing's potential Sash is really good. So from a perspective of knowing what my team is, seeing that he has Calm Mind, that means he's not going to have many coverage options. So that means he's going to have things like Psychic for general stab. He's going to have Shadow Ball because I do have the Mew, and I also have Registeel. That's not on this team necessarily, but he's going to need Focus Blast in order to hit Registeel. So knowing this, Focus Blasts probably might kill me. I'm not sure. But I'm actually going to go make a man's play and go out into Greninja. And it's, I guess if there was a controversial play in this game, it was that. And, like, people were thinking, like, oh, he's Sash Greninja. It's like, no, actually, no, I'm not Sash Greninja. But logically, if he was going to kill me off, he needed to go for Psychic there. And I figured that he wouldn't have Energy Ball. And let's say he were to make the play and go for a Focus Blast to knock out my Greninja. It's still not the end of the world because I do have the Scarf Thundurus that can easily knock this thing out with a Scarf Dark Pulse. So that's really good for me that he goes for a Psychic and I'm able to knock out the Alakazam. So now he's going to go out into his Crobat. I want to keep this Greninja as he goes for a Leech Life. And oh my goodness. So I make a building error here. Once again, just not, my original team not being the actual team that I want. And I forgot to put 8 more. I need to put 8 more EVs into my Thunders to be able to outspeed his Crobat and his Tapu Koko. So luckily, Leech Life isn't, Crobat's still not doing that much damage. And, it didn't really cost me that much that I didn't have enough speed EVs to outspeed a Crobat. But he's going to go out into the Cresselia, and I'm going to go hard out into my Stunfisk because one, Dark Pulse actually does 0%. It does like 40%. So he could actually set up Calm Minds on a modest Dark Pulse Thunduruses here. So Knowing that I don't want him to start boosting up, I don't want him to get out of hand with Calm Minds here. I'm going to go hard right out into the Stun Fist and just fire off a Toxic here because I have no reason not to. So he's going to switch out into his Garchomp. And I do miss the Toxic here, which does stink a little bit, but I have defensive checks being Buzzwole and my Blastoise. So I'm going to go right out into my Blastoise here first because it's more expendable than my Buzzwole. And now I can get a free switch into my Buzzwole, and things are looking very good for me because he's going to fire off a Outrage, as he is obviously locked in Outrage. And now I'm just going to set up Bulk Ups because I know that I can take these Outrages and just kind of roost them off here. So I want to, just in case he does go hard right out into Cresselia, and I do want chip damage to revenge this Garchomp here with a Dark Pulse, Thunderous, or a Surf from Greninja. My best play here, I think, is to... Oh, I actually go for Roost. Oh, yeah, because I was starting to get low. So he fires off another Outrage, and now, once again, now I'm going to go for a Leech Life, as I'm sitting here pretty healthy, and his win condition right now is if he crits me, he actually knocks me out, and that can be very scary. So I do want to get rid of this Garchomp as soon as possible, just in case it does crit me. But I actually can live a crit from 61%, but I can't live a crit and then another Outrage from there. So I'm just going to Roost to get at a healthy amount of HP, and he's going to hit himself as I'm going to fire off another Bulk Up. So right here, I should have went for a Leech Life, but I also forgot that Buzzwole does learn, or it does have the Beast Booster thing, and I forgot if I get a kill, then I get a +1 attack, but I needed to be at +3 attack in order to OHKO the Cresselia, and I mean, it's a little bit greedy, but he would have to get 2 Outrage crits in order to kill my Buzzwole. And now I'm just going to go for the Leech Life to take out the Garchomp, as we get a Beast Boost right here. And now he's going to go out into the Cresselia, as we are a +4 Buzzwole. Leech Life easily going to knock that Cresselia out, and we do win our Week 2 game. So that was a really good match with my boy Razor. I think everything went well. Luckily I did not get my Buzzwole crit, and he definitely had a shot late game with the Cresselia. I had access to like a bunch of coverage moves to hit the Cresselia, but like it's so bulky, and I also did make sure that I kept my win condition Stun Fist still in the back. I'm pretty glad that I did not sack that off. I think I played pretty much a perfect game, bar I was considering was the Musack worth it, but I ultimately think, now looking at it, it did give me very good insight that the Crobat was banded. So other than that, I think we did good, and we're going to be facing week 3 versus Cloud. So stay tuned, and till next time, I'm signing out. Peace.